This is a video tutorial filmed by Randy at VoodoofX.com. Have a look at the links in the description of this video to see the full Blade Runner Voight kampff build-up and painting tutorials I produced earlier this year. This particular video demonstrates the modifications Randy made to incorporate animating LEDs, an articulating arm, articulating swing-out tray, and operating moving bellows. This is recommended for advanced builders. Contact us with any questions. Enjoy.
Okay, we're here with the VK machine main eyepiece drill out. The first part you're going to need to drill is this main frontal eyepiece section. You're going to need to drill a hole out right in the middle of this, and this is going to be for the red LED that will be the main light that's in the eyepiece itself. This is the back half of the eye cup, and you're going to need to drill and hog out a hole inside this area in order to house the actual LED itself, and then you will need to open up the back side of the cup to have a place for the wire to exit the back and go out and roll down the side of the swing arm. You also need to cut and drill out a spot right here on this main side of the cup in order to make a mount to mount it so it free floats inside the actual eye cup piece. This one's a little bit long, but this basically is going to go inside here. I pre-drilled this out already, and just for a rough ideal fit, that's kind of something what it's going to look like when it sits inside there. And then this piece will go, actually, when it's mounted with the LED, you'll prefab all this and then put it right in there like that. And that will be where you have the eye light that looks out through the main edge. Okay, here's the small monitor box cut out and ready for the new monitors to go in top and in place. The cutout's good so you can have full access for the electronics, and I'm using this ring that's provided in the kit to rise it above the main model. This area right here is going to need to be removed right around here to accommodate the LED array for this area that's going to go right in here. This cover plate's going to be where the lighting effect is actually going to be seen through this this opening right here. So the back side of this, in order to fit the circuit board and all the hardware, this area over here will need to be removed. Basically from this line, I'm going to make a line across this side and then cut this little area out right to the edge of the monitor. Okay, here's the cutout. I just basically did a full cutout of the area here. If you look inside, you can kind of see. Let's see if I can get a better view. I had to open up quite a large area up in there. Okay, I've done the initial opening of the hole. I'm going to use a small flat file to finish off the hole and square off the ends to fit the advanced lighting kit. What I ended up doing was I just ended up adding a few pieces of styrene on each side to take up the gap. I'll level them off a little bit and then resand the hole. And this is the accurate size. This is what you'll need to do to modify it if you want to use the advanced lighting system. I've already went ahead and have very finely cut these vacuum forms down to the perfect shape that will fit in here, and I've got them numbered actually in a sequential marks here, so I've got them numbered so I know exactly what's going to lay on the bottom and what's going to lay on the top. And anyway, for this first unit, they're going to require to cut a good sized portion out of this area to settle for the motor. You won't see this when they're actually in place because they only lift up so high, so you won't see this little mark. But you can see where I cut out the motor markouts right inside here. This is where the motor will be kind of peeking through the top of the box, and this is where the shaft will run, and then this is where the actual gear cog will be that will lift these up and down. And anyway, I'll just show you a quick mock-up. So this is going to it's going to basically going to be resting in here like that. It's very close. It's very tight to the back of the box, but there is enough room. Anyway, this is the motor that will come in the kit that you'll need to install inside the inside the housing box. I'm going to get in a little bit more about that as I start to take it apart. So anyway, this motor is going to basically be riding inside this little pocket right here. It'll be standing straight up like this, but it'll be buried inside the motor box just a little bit. I think you can see it probably from that side. Let me see if I can pan over just a little bit so you get a little better idea. And so what this is going to do is this is going to sit inside here but down low, and then this will churn the gear motor that will actually make the bellows lift up and down. The best thing to do is to get a drill and to drill out every corner where you're going to make the actual cut through the box. I'm just going to use a small drill bit and go through each section of the box. And this will give me an area where I need to cut off with the wheel. After making the cuts for the motor assembly, you can basically see where I've made the insertion in here. I got this little motor to be temporarily fit up in here so you guys can kind of see where it's going to lie inside the actual thing. This is just kind of a temporary setting for it, but this is where the motor is going to sit. I still haven't created the mounting assembly for it yet. I can let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit, and you kind of get an idea of where the motor is going to sit inside there. The channel that's open there is for where the gear motor is going to sit. That's going to lift the actual bellows up and down. What you're going to need to do on the first series of bellows is you're going to have to end up making a cutout like this for the motor and for the guide. And basically this motor and guide assembly is going to sit right inside here. And you're going to have to do this there on the bottom one. You'll have to do it on the secondary one. And this one's going to stack on top. Because the motor's sitting in there so shallow, you're going to need to create this a little buffer there between the motor and there. And then this, the final one, is going to be another one that's cut out similar to the size, so then that way nothing hangs up and nothing hits the motor, so when they lift you won't get any hang up on the motor assembly. I probably could have got away with the third one, but you don't even see it anyway, so I just decided not to do it. And then on this one you can just get away with just a slot just going across there, and that will be the fourth position going up to the stack. As you can see now you can't even see the motor and the stack. And then this is the final piece, which is the master slave unit that's going to sit on the very, very top, and that will be the one that drives all the other bellows up and down. But there's the natural progression of how I've got the how they're going to be set into place. As you can see, I've already cut out the notched area. And I had to do a lot of grinding and sanding down these edges in order to get this area somewhat surfaceable enough to put the wood mount. Now, what you're going to have to do is, I just went out and I milled this piece. So if you're going to want to make a motor mount system with the bellows drive, you're going to have to go out and actually mill a piece of wood or something that's strong, like something that's strong enough to support and mount the motor onto this. So wood was the easiest thing I could think of to use for this application. So anyway, so what I did is I went out and I cut a piece and I milled this piece of wood. It's exactly 1/2 inch by 3/4 inches tall, and it's basically going to sit across these two bridged areas where the motor mount comes into play. And when it sits through the bottom of the model, basically that this is going to be the motor mounting area. You could probably see it very closely right here. I'll hold it down in the screen. And this is going to be like where you're going to put a couple screws through here. And you might want to reinforce this with some fiberglass mesh and epoxy would be my probably how I'm going to go about it. What I've done is I've drilled out 2 holes on the very top edge of the bellows area, and I'm going to basically put this, I've recessed them a little bit, I'm going to put these nice little stainless panhead screws through, and I've recessed the holes on the top so they should fit flush. First thing you want to do is you want to clamp these off really good, and then once they're clamped off, you basically, I took this this little keeper piece or the plate and preset it and measured it on here, and then I went ahead and made a couple stencil marks in there where I'm going to cut it off. And also you're going to need to go and you'll need to trim these back and cut these back a little bit because of the length of the way that the stack's laid out. And if you look on the back side, you can still see where the stack is not, because they're stacked up sequentially. So I have to cut this back so they're even, and then that way I can drill through the body and I'll know exactly where to go. These are all been drilled down, and I've cut the edge off here so it's nice and even, and with the whole package together. Then what I just did is basically it's going to be set up with a screw here. The screw is going to go through the bottom and then go all the way through the bottom of the body. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to settle the first one on. And I'm just going to put it down there kind of loosely, because these kind of want to ride kind of loose. And that's kind of what it's supposed to look like when it's just sitting down on there with the back. And they're just, see how they're already pre-slanted? There can be a little bit of movement in here, but I'll take care of that once I get the other screw in. So basically when this goes into place, again, you kind of got to feel your way down in there because the hole's nice and firm. There it is. So this is going to be like that. Now, they're a little tight right now, and I'll have to loosen the stack up, but that's how they're going to, you want them to be a little bit moving. And this bottom one, the first one's going to be locked hard. What's going to end up doing is we're going to put a eyelet piece right here. I've got these eyelets. These are 1/8 inch eyelets. They're going to be mounted inside here. I'm going to mount on these 3 main ones and possibly on the very bottom one as well. I won't know until I get all the way down to the bottom here. But this is where the actual string that will be hooked up here, towing the line up and down with a little bit of a latch on the bottom to catch them. Okay, so here we go. We're going to drill out for the bellows eyelets right now. I'm going to go through the whole stack. Everything's positioned really tight. Just want to keep it really good. You can go real slow. And you're just going to slowly go down them straight in a line. There's one. There's 2. There's 3. And there's the 4th. Okay, I'm all the way through. So, I tried to keep that as straight as I could. Just going to see how it goes through. It feels pretty good. Clean the hole out a little bit. That's where the eyelet's going to sit. I will include these rivets inside the kit, but you will have to provide the tool, the crimping tool, to do it, because I only have just the rivets. Okay, I got this punched out. I just wanted to show you that's the way the rivet should fit in there. And the next step is you're going to come down to the back side, and I'll pound this down and crimp this. I went ahead and I made up a bunch of them, and right now they're basically wired together with this piece of thread. I tried a different system before, but this seems to always be the best comeback for the thing. Anyway, I try to keep this really simple. I want you guys to explain this. This is the bottom piece that sits on the very bottom that gets hard mounted. This is the last bellow. And you can see what I ended up doing is I just tied a little knot in the end of the cord. And two knots in here is enough to hold it back from going through the eyelet. And that's all you need. The spacing between them is roughly, if I can pick it up here, It's about a good quarter of an inch rise until it hits the next. You want to almost barely see in between the next bellow. So if you look inside there, you see where I got it. It's knotted inside there. And how you do it is you just progressively work the knot up each time. So there's then see this one is right there. If I pulled the cord up, this one would hold this side, and vice versa, all the way up to the end of the stack. So when they finally are pulled, you know, and they're resting down in their place. When you go to actually pull them up, they'll pull together as a, you know, as individual, and then they'll lie back down as individuals. One other thing I wanted to touch on was how to hook up, how I basically was tying the knots. So if I started on the bottom and I work my way up to the top, and I was going over so many, this is how I do it. Since I know this piece is already bottomed out on here, it's stuck on the knot, you know, and that's the end of the height. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tie a knot, a small one, in here, but not really crank it down like that. And I'm just going to put a little knot like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take that knot, I'm going to move it down a little more. Somewhere right around there. See, it's got about maybe a good strong quarter inch. You know, it could be even down maybe even a little farther, just because it's getting down to the last one. So you just kind of pull it really loose. And then what I'll do is I'll just put another little safety knot just so it doesn't pull out all the way on the bottom of it. And just do it a little bit. I won't pull it real tight. And then I'll take that knot and then I'll thread it through this one. This is one of the last ones. This is number 2. And then this one will go when the stack's all done. This one will sit. This will get mounted to the master slave unit, which is the number 1 unit right here. And this I'll have it anchored up here to the top, and that'll be the final spot where it mounts is on there, and then that'll be the completion of the stack. This one drives all of them. So what it comes down to is now that you test the stack. So I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to see how much I've got, and it's looking pretty good right there. See, I'm just doing kind of a test of where I'm lifting it at, and I'm pinching these down, and I'm getting a pretty good amount of rise. I could actually go a little more just to even it out, but that's pretty good. So see how they individually go like that now? Okay, going back to the motor mounting assembly. Basically, I've placed the motor inside the block mount that I originally put inside here to hold the motor. The motor's set in one setting right now. It's been screwed into place. I might add a little bit of reinforcement and backing around this area, probably with a little bit of clear silicone, just so it doesn't have any vibration and doesn't move out of this pocket. If I'm going to flip it over for you, you can see this is basically how you want the motor to sit in here. It's pretty level right now. I actually have to stick a shim behind it because you want the shaft to sit pretty straight. It shouldn't hook up on anything, but I'm still going to take the precaution, and you should do as well, to level this out and make sure that the wheel is going to spin in a very level direction. What I ended up coming out with the solution for this project was I found these small clips that were these are for picture hanging clips, and they don't take up a lot of space, and you can slide the cord underneath here to set the master slave piece. So I'm going to epoxy this piece in here. I'm going to scuff the inside here so it really sticks well, and then I'll fill this also with a little bit of epoxy over the top so it really secures it on there, because this is the main drive. A little update before moving forward. Prior to me getting the motor assembly mounted, I noticed that I needed to make some mounting hardware for the advanced electronics for both the front and this is for the red flasher area, and then also again up on the LED frame for the LED display. I had to add this little piece of shelf in order to mount and hold the piece, so when you go to put all these together, this actually will slide inside here and rest right on the top of this edge, and then this gives you a nice, perfect little flush little mount job for the unit. Basically what I ended up doing was I put a little filler in the bottom here of the main monitor to lift this up a little higher, so I'd have a good range here. This piece is going to sit right in here. I have to scratch build this to make this. And it basically, I just made this out of some Centra, and it's actually beveled at an angle because the back of the box is leveled. So since it goes down at an angle, you have to offset the angle to get it so it looks at it flat. And so this bracket, or this light box holder, is going to sit right about here. This is the new setup for the holder that I just made for the mini monitors. There's two little separate individual ones, or one large one that's going to go across here. I just scratch built this. And again, small piece of Centra. This could be a piece of styrene as well. I made it just into a little shape. This shape rides on the inside of here, so I made it so it just fits in there. So you just turn it inside, and it just mounts there. And you can either have it mounted back like that, like far, if you want a real. And this gives you a little bit of focus. So then if you want to bring it up, you can bring it up closer like this and make the light more intense. This DC jack will be pre-wired. It'll be going through one side like this inside the model. And this will be the main power hookup will be plugged right straight into this. And then on the other side, I'll have a switch. And then the switch will be what turns it on and turns it off. And this is going to go in on this side. The kit's going to come with a strip lighting that you'll be able to cut to fit and wire. It's very self-explanatory. There's a positive and a negative end on each one. These can be cut into sections like this and then just hand wired. These are wired back and just wired from two wires into one wire. And this is what mounts inside the box. The box itself is already pre-cut out and ready to go. And then this is going to just sit inside there just like that. And then this will create the backlighting for the mini monitors. Again, this is a similar application. This is made up and be mounted underneath the backside of here. You're going to run 4 of these strips along here in an even pattern, just like this, and then this piece will get mounted on the inside here. Again, I've got all 4 wires coming back to one main junction, and then the one main junction comes out to one wire that will be connected to power, both positive and negative. This piece is going to sit right inside here, and it's just going to rest against the back of this wall. I made a little rest in a little area right here, so it'll just ride right inside there, and then I'll be able to glue it in the surface there. Now I'm getting ready to do the button detail. As you can see in the blue area over here, I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit so you can see it. Right here where the buttons are, those 2 little holes, I've picked both the outside of the case and the inside closest to the monitor. Those lights will go off pseudo-randomly in on and off cycles. So you'll never know when they're going to come on or come off, but every so often they'll come on and come off. So here are the buttons, and what the buttons are going to do is you're going to need to flatten them down a little bit and square them up. And then what I did was I drilled a small hole in the back here. So these holes for the LEDs that are down in the corner here have to be a little bit larger than this in order to accommodate so it doesn't bump into the button. And then once it's set in place, you can just use a little dab of hot glue behind here to mount it permanently onto the fixture. You won't need much. I might even use a little bit of silicone. But here's what the light looks like lit. So we're going to put it in here in our little tester, and it's going to look just like that. So that's what the finished light's going to be. It's nice, it's bright. It's a little spotty, but it's doable. It's kind of got all the corners. The corners are all lit really good on the button itself. So I think it's going to be fully passable as far as the look goes. And I can kind of see what it's going to be. It should look pretty nice on there. If you are doing the advanced kit and you're using the LED board, this board basically is going to sit with the chip side facing down, because it's the only way that actually the module will fit in there because of it's so shallow. But basically I got it all ready fabbed up in there, and here I'll go ahead and just make a quick little, it's just going to sit up in there. Once you get it up into place, you can just kind of just push it out a little bit. I'm just going to go about halfway. And then it's always good, once you get the module up in place, just go ahead and turn it on. Make sure you got the orientation right. It should go from left to right. So the green bar is always going to be on the left, and then the red bar is all the way on the right. Here's the DC motor. This is what drives the gear for the internals for the bellows. This is the string tie-up that actually makes the bellows follow each other, which is in the tutorial. This is basically the wiring that runs up here, and this is for the switching, and the DC jack is and that goes also, it goes to the back side. You can see where it comes in that way. Over here is just the main wiring hub for the main on lighting for both the main monitor, and if you look over deep inside here, there's the back monitor.
Okay, and there's your deluxe DC.
Yeah, there's the
DC motor.
You can't see the top of the LCD display up here because it's buried in the very top of the monitor. But that's where the display lives, way up inside there, and then it's wired down to this main bundle.
Right, and then there's your brain right there.
Right, and then there's the small red. You can see the small red LED indicator there on the bottom. That's actually right here. The circuit board's right here, and that's where it would look out.
Okay, and then up here at the corner,
that's the light for the buttons. Those are the button light board.
there's another brain. There's the chip for the button program right there.
Yeah, and that's the random on and off button lights for the three main buttons.
Thanks for watching this tutorial by Randy at VoodooFX.com. Be sure to follow the links in the description to learn more about our projects, and like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.